Hi there, Vibe Gardeners. Welcome to another episode of Vibe Gardening Informed Edition. We're going to talk about 1 year later, and we're going to check in on the result of the Cucumber Moonshot Experiment and see what I've applied from last year and how it worked out. With that said, let's go. All right, so to recap a little bit of last year, what we did with the Cucumber Moonshot Experiment is that we took this spot right here, right next to my central air conditioning and the wind corridor, as you can see here, with my property. And we put the cucumber right here. And so the reason for that was that this right here gets more sun, basically a quarter sun exposure and a lot more of the thermal heat bank coming from my house to give it a nice, temperature. And last year, the cucumbers didn't really last that long. It lasted about 1 month before it just expired. And I mean, the root, basically near the root level, the root and the stem basically disconnected, and it really just did not work out. And last year there was also a lot of heat waves, which is not that unusual nowadays with the way that climate's been changing. So, and the location was also with my eggplant bed, which is down there. And that bed right now, where the cucumber was last year, I give it to green beans. And as you saw from other videos, the lithium explosion kind of covered everything. But that's neither here nor now with this episode. But here what I did was I put the cucumber here, where I know it worked well last year. And we have the thermal bank coming from the building still, and the wind corridor, and things have been going pretty well. And the main difference this year was I started my cucumber a little bit later than last year, in that I got a little bit of germination fatigue by the end of my season, so I didn't exactly get my cucumber started on time. But as you'll see, this setup actually did quite well. All right, to show you guys a little bit of the setup here with this bed, one of the things that you'll notice that there's really only two cucumber plants. As you can see, there's one coming from here, and then there's another one coming over here. And one of the things that I did this year was I kind of accompanied it with a bunch of carrots in the front, thinking that it's on two different, well, it's probably big enough to be able to handle one more crop. I thought having carrots here might be a good idea. So far, the carrots really have not thrived very well. They're tiny and behind with all intent and purposes. So it's not going very well. And one of the things is that I found out from the cucumbers by the utility pole, which is not doing very well, that essentially bunnies love to chew on cucumbers, their leaves at least. So what I did here was, after I was gone for about 10 days for family emergency, I noticed that the bunnies have got in here, and as you can see here, there's quite a bit of bunny nibbling on my carrots. So I know they've been in here, and part of the reason was this space right here was vacant, and so that's why I'm putting these, weird geometry here to create clutter, as I've mentioned in my bunny defense video. This has actually done quite the job. Since I installed this, the bunny have not been returning to this spot. So one of the things that actually I think this year for the cucumber that I worked really well is that if you remember from last year, the same length of trellis here, as well go closer for a look here. This trellis actually starts up here, and then as you kind of go down, and this is my sump pump air exhaust here. This is where I folded it down last year to create an A-frame. I figured what happened was that 6 foot is approximately the length that it will go for cucumber, for each plant. So I created an A-frame thinking 6 foot total should be enough. But the reality was I realized I've expanded it all the way out, like I have here. This structure actually is much better, because what happened is that it grows significantly longer than 6 foot. So what happened here is that when the cucumber grew up, You see the master cucumber here? It would arch down, and then I would drape the cucumber over the other side, coming down, and actually I lost where it's coming through. But either way, it's draped down pretty far into it. So as you can see right here, we have a double situation right here where actually I lost the vine because it's such a mess in here. But essentially the vine actually looped up and it's basically draped over to this side. Let me try to find there we go. So this is where it draped to down here. So as you can see, it came all the way up to 6 foot, draped down. This is actually making it total, I'm guessing, approximately, actually about 8 feet tall, long, actually, the cucumber vine. So by basically giving the 6 foot height here, I'm given the opportunity to, drape over, and that significantly helped. And the other thing here is that if you look at this air corridor here, there's a lot of wind coming this way. So what it does that, you see here, the leaf is constantly ruffling. I highly suspect this amount of air is actually reducing the disease pressure on the plant itself, and it's significantly helping the health of the plant. So I think overall, this wind corridor is doing more benefit than I originally suspected from the Cucumber Moonshot Experiment. So not only is it getting the heat from the brick behind the cucumber, that heat is getting dissipated in the proper way from the wind. And it's a constant temperature. So it's giving the cucumber exactly what it needs. A higher temperature, still adequate sun, but with enough wind to dissipate the heat. And the two here, this area doesn't get nearly as much sun as the previous location. And I think that is actually to the benefit of this cucumber plant, in that the leaves are still showing damage and everything, but it's nowhere nearly as bad as last year. And even with my watering that I'm doing here, I'm doing every other day watering with a soaker hose, a short one. But it's because it's only a 2 foot diameter raised bed. It's actually making sure that the hydration is enough. So as you can see here, this yellowing of the leaf is nowhere nearly as bad as last year. But last year, this thing is like 80% yellow, if not dying completely. And the worst I'm seeing right here is something like this or that, which is approximately about 10 to 20%, maybe 20% yellowing, which is not that bad. So overall, the health of the plant is significantly better, and I attribute to the combination of the brick wall combined with the wind tunnel. So another thing that I have to attribute to this is actually the plant itself. Definitely when I got the soaker hose in there on the timer, the whole health of the plant got better. And obviously that every other day with soaker hose for about 30 minutes, or 45 or so minutes, was definitely the ideal situation for these cucumbers. And another thing too, I have to talk about nutrition, is that nutrition, what I did was instead of every 4 days on half strength Miracle-Gro tomato blend, what I did was I switched to the Schultz tomato food, which in this case has actually lower nitrogen than any of the other two of the NPK, and so with a much higher potassium, and that is definitely a lot healthier for these fruiting cucumbers. And what I did this time instead was it's every week full strength feed, and and I did have a break in between, which came to the shortened harvest of these cucumbers here. So what happened here is having a less frequent, stronger feed tends to help the cucumbers a little better, I think. Or maybe that's just everything else working. I'm not 100% sure. But either way, I'm able to get quite a bit of cucumber. These things are still going right now, and it's about 2 months in. And there's no sign of the end to this cucumber yet. So I believe this year, this cucumber is going to live all the way to the end of the season when it gets too cold. And that's going to be a 3 to 4 month window of growth on this cucumber, which is a dramatic difference from only probably less than 1 month last year. So definitely working. All right, guys, so this is kind of like my takeaway this year. I know it's a lot more than what the Cucumber Moonshot Experiment was aiming for, but last year, the Cucumber Moonshot Experiment was also testing the season extension with the temperature. This is not what's been going on right now. This is the side of the Cucumber Moonshot Experiment that we didn't cover last year, which is the effect of the wind helping with reducing disease pressure, which I did not expect. So hopefully this guys gave you some idea of what's been going on in my garden. And I don't know scientifically if I'm backing this up properly, but this is what I've observed this year in my garden. So if you guys have any thoughts, comments, or ideas making this thing go even healthier, besides, obviously starting the plant earlier next season, please leave a comment below and subscribe for more content like this. Until next time, guys, keep gardening and keep vibing. Let's go.